Hi, my name is Abdullahi Abdi, and today I'll be presenting my presentation about communication concepts and theories. We're gonna talk about the models of communication. We're gonna talk about a few other things that we're gonna get into in the next few slides. The beginning and the end of any given communication encounters can be confusing propositions. Given the complexity of the communication process, alternate modes of expression in interpersonal interaction may prove useful at times. Some of our words convey meaning, some convey emotions, and some actually produce action. Language also provides endless opportunities because of its limitless that it has, sometimes nonsensical and always changing nature. And we're going to talk about the encoding and the decoding and the receiver and these in the next few slides. And here we're going to get into the encoding and the decoding process and what is it. The encoding and decoding process is the mental operation that enables senders, receivers, and interpreters to communicate effectively. Encoding is the process through which ideas are transformed into words. Continuing with that, however, there are certain consistent features among these many models of communication. There is the participant, the person, the message, encoding, decoding, and the channel make up the first two models we'll talk about in this section. Transmission and interaction, respectively. Each person involved in a communication interaction is modeled as either a sender or a receiver in a communication model. The message is what is being sent from sender to reception, whether in words or in any other form of communication. The internal cognitive process that allows the sender, the participant to send, receive, and understand message is the encoding and the decoding process. Encoding is the process of turning thoughts into communication, as well as we will learn later on. The level of consciousness through that goes into encoding message varies. Decoding is the it is the process of communication into thoughts. For example, I'm going to give you an example. You may realize that you're hungry and you're encoding that following message sending to your mother. I am hungry. Do you want to get food tonight? As your mother receives the message, they decode your communication and turn it back into thought in order to make meaning out of it. Next, we are going to talk about what role do communication models have in facilitating effective workplace discussion. We need to learn more about how communication functions within a company because it is crucial. Thus, employing such models aids in decision making and it makes for more effective communicators. Understanding the communication models can help us think about our communication situations more deliberately, better prepare for our future situations, learn from our previous experiences. And with that being said, we still did not get to the main of our topic, which is the top 8 communication theories that I'm gonna get into one by one in this slide. Each of these 8 major communication models fell into one of the 3 broad classes. 1. Aristotle model of communication, Laswell's model, the Shannon-Weaver, and the Miberlo's SMCR Dell. Number 1, we have the Aristotle's model. He was the first person to take an initiative and design the communication model. According to this model, the speaker plays a key role in communication. He is the one who takes charge of the communication. The sender first prepares a content which he does by carefully putting his thoughts in words with an objective of influencing the listeners or the receivers who would then respond in the sender's desired way. The model says that the speaker's communications in such a way that the listeners get influenced and respond accordingly. And number two is the Leswell's model. He is an American political scientist, states that a convenient way to describe an act of communication is to answer the following question. What are these questions, you may ask? It's who says, and what, in which channel, to whom, and what effect. This model is about process of communication its function to society. According to Liswell's model, there are three functions for communication. One, I wrote this in my previous assignments. And the first one is the surveillance of the environment, correlation of the component of society. Number three is cultural transmission. Yes, cultural transmission between generations. Laswell's model suggested with multiple audience the flow of message is through various channels, and also this communication model is similar to the first model that we have talked about, the Aristotle's model of communication. And number three is the Shannon-Weaver model, but we're gonna get to this one in the next slide, since this is one of the most important models, the theory, one of the most important in this generation, and not only in this generation but on Earth. Is one of the most important theories that we're gonna get into. But for now, we're gonna go to the fourth one, which is Miberlo's SMCR Dell. This model was created by American communication theory David Barlow in 1960, who expanded the Shannon-Weaver. Understanding this model, like most communication models, Barlow argues that the sender and the receiver must be synced. The model also focuses on encoding and decoding, which happens before a sender sends their message and before receive the message. This model has mainly for a component to describe the communication process. They are message channel and receiver, and each of these components is affected by many factors, definitely. And with that being said, that I have concluded Miberlo's SMCR's Dell. Now we're gonna get into the Shannon-Weaver, which is one of the most important theory that exists. The Shannon-Weaver, the most important model of communication, is the Shannon-Weaver, as I said before. This model is specifically designed to develop the effective communication between sender and receiver, also defined factors which affect things in the communication process called noise. At first, the model was developed to improve the technical communication. Later, it's widely applied in the field of communication. This communication is used widely in 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 this generation. Not only in this generation, as I said, it's widely used in this whole communication processes, in this whole communication industry. It's being used, the Shannon Weaver. There's the sender, there's the encoder, and then there's the channel, which is the noise that blocks from the sender to the decoder. There is always a noise in between. Let's say, for example, you're driving your car and going to a trip with your family, and then you see a poster by, and then there's a music radio playing. You will be distracted, and this is what the Shannon Weaver is all about, which is the noise. We call that noise in communication. And next we have conclusion. I would like to conclude by saying, although communication models can fully capture the complexity of real life communication, they can allow us to look at various stages of the process and gain a better understanding of how we communicate, both inside and outside of the workplace. And with that being said, I would like to conclude my presentation and thank you so much.